Welcome everybody to this presentation. I'm Christian Itin, I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Autolus, and I would like to thank the organizers of the meeting for inviting us for this event. What I'll be focusing on is obviously our key programs that we currently have in development. We're a public company, so please keep in mind when you make investment decisions to review the SEC filings that we're periodically updating alongside our financial filings. Now, our lead program is focused on the or is designed for the treatment of patients with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and particularly focus on the adult patient population. We have a clinical trial ongoing, which is a pivotal study, which is expected to read out in 2022. The trial is called the Felix trial. And the program itself is called obe-cel or AUTO1. It's important to understand that this program has a real unique opportunity to capture a patient population that is substantially underserved and currently has no approved CAR-T therapy available. We're also exploring obe-cel in a broader range of indications, including a broader set of non-Hodgkin's indications, and we'll provide updates at the end of this year and during the course of next year on those activities. In addition, we have a next generation program in development that we're currently exploring in pediatric patients called AUTO1/22, and we're expecting to also provide a first update by the end of this year. Overall, we're running a broad pipeline of earlier stage assets that we have in exploratory earlier clinical studies, and I'll talk about that towards the end of the presentation. The focus of the main presentation, however, will be on our lead asset, on obe-cel. So currently, obe-cel is being investigated as indicated in adult ALL, in non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, as well as in primary CNS lymphoma, and AUTO1/22, the next generation program in pediatric ALL. The targets we're going after is CD19 for obe-cel, and for AUTO1/22, CD19 and CD22. When we look at adult patients with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, we're looking at a patient population that is actually experiencing a very difficult journey. They basically have to deal with a very aggressive disease that actually resides in the bone marrow and crowds out the marrow, and as a consequence of that, actually the patients do become immunocompromised and immune suppressed. In addition, we're obviously using as the standard of care for these patients in the early line of therapies, high-dose chemotherapy, which actually in the frontline setting gets most of these patients into a complete remission. However, only about 30% of the patients actually do benefit long-term from that therapy. The remainder of the patients do relapse, and they may actually get into a second-line therapy, which consists again of high-dose chemotherapy and typically stem cell transplant. And once you've basically failed that stage, which most of the patients unfortunately do fail on, you're either on additional courses of experimental high-dose chemotherapy regimens or products like blinatumomab or inotuzumab. In general, once you actually are relapsing from the frontline setting, typically your median overall survival is approximately a year, which is obviously a very challenging outlook for these patients. The initial experience with the CAR-T therapies in the space has been very mixed. There's been a lot of toxicity that was reported alongside several programs. And that is a challenge in this patient population because of their a significant level of exposure to high doses of chemotherapy and obviously the underlying disease. And as a consequence, what you would like to have is a therapy that actually has a very good overall safety profile. The program is obviously has received orphan designation, has received PRIME designation in Europe, and an ILAP designation from the MHRA in the UK. And when we think about the actual addressable patient population between the US and Europe, we're looking at about 3,000 patients. When we look at the product itself, what is different from for obe-cel and differentiates it from any other CAR-T therapy currently in development or on the market is that it has a very unique property with regards to its ability to bind the target antigen. It can do that in a very high level of specificity, but it also allows the CAR T cells, once it delivers the kill of the leukemic cell, to disengage very rapidly. And as you can see on the right-hand upper panel, one of the hallmarks of the product is that it has a very fast on rate, comparable to the commercial products currently on the market or in development, but a very, very fast off rate. And with that, the CAR T cells don't get overactivated, they don't get stuck on the target cell. And with that, we have overall a much better safety profile. We have a higher level of activity, and we also do see less exhaustion. So as we were translating the program then into the clinical experience, what we have observed is a very high level of sustained complete remissions, even in patients that had subsequent transplants, stem cell transplants, and had failed on that. We see a very encouraging durability of those remissions. We see that the event-free survival in these patients at 12 and 24 months is at approximately 50%. We do see a very well-tolerated program. No high-grade cytokine release syndrome has been observed in these patients, and a small proportion of patients have actually experienced neurotoxicity or ICANS. However, all of those patients that did experience neurotoxicity were patients with very, very high tumor burden, more than 50%. The current pivotal study is underway. We expect full data during the course of next year. And we believe that the product addresses a very sizable opportunity, as indicated before. One of the hallmarks of the program that we see is that the product actually has a very high level of expansion. So there's a very large number of CAR T cells formed in the patients. We're looking at approximately 10 times higher than with competitor products in either pediatric or adult patients for that matter. And what you can see is a sustained persistence of these CAR T cells, presence of the CAR T cells over an extended period of time. We're looking here at the 24 months observation, and we're looking at median CAR T levels in peripheral blood. So this is by flow, and it allows you clearly to actually identify CAR T cells over a long period of time. As you can see on the right-hand side is the overall safety profile. Already indicated the very positive profile with regards to cytokine release syndrome and ICANS. Just to point out that none of the patients required vasopressors, so none of the patients required intensive care to be managed with this therapy, which is very encouraging. When we look at the both morphological or also molecular event-free survival, we can see that the curves are going horizontal as of 12 months and onwards. And it gives us a very attractive level of stabilization of event-free survival at around 50%. Moving on, obviously, overall, what we have been able to demonstrate in our early experience is a very high level of molecular complete remission rate in these patients of 85%. Also, obviously, the CR rate, morphological CR rate is 85% as well. We talked about the morphological event-free survival of 50%, long-term CAR T persistence, which is going alongside the event-free survival that we have been seeing, which really drives that durability of the effect, and is a favorable safety profile. Commercially, we believe this is an attractive opportunity. Currently, we see the standard of care in this setting, Blincyto, to reach about 2,100 patients overall and about 1,800 adult patients in the relevant market. We also do obviously see that we have continued growth also with Blincyto, which is very positive. But remember, none of these patients actually get into long-term remission and actually do need additional treatment. The pricing level, obviously, for products that do actually give you a transformational outcome, as seen with Kymriah, is quite significant. And we also see that the footprint for CAR T therapies gets expanded also as Breyanzi as well as Kymriah get moved more into the outpatient segment and a bit more into the periphery as well, and non-academic hospitals. There is one program that is currently under review for the treatment of patients with ALL, adult patients, that's Tecartus. And we expect that the program will establish CAR T therapy, obviously, in the space with a significant opportunity to improve over and above. We believe that our program has a superior profile, and I think will put us in a very good position with regards to the commercial opportunity in this indication. The program, as indicated, is running in a pivotal study. We're aiming for 100 patients with relapsed refractory disease. Primary endpoint is overall complete response rate in these patients, and secondary endpoints include molecular responses or MRD negative CRs, event-free survival, and duration of response. As indicated before, we're exploring the product in a range of indications, and we'll see actually data coming from those trials over the upcoming 12 months period. With regards to pediatric ALL, the program we're moving forward is called AUTO1/22. It's now also in a clinical trial. And what we're looking to do is really improve over and above what we've seen with AUTO1 in pediatric patients, as well as what was seen with Kymriah in pediatric patients. What we do see is that obviously at least half of the patients, if not more, do relapse over time. And of those patients that do relapse, the predominant reason for the relapse is loss of antigen, of CD19 antigen on the leukemic cells. Overall, you can see also here very nicely that, again, as seen in the adult patients, there is no high-grade CRS compared to a very high level of CRS observed with Kymriah. What we're doing with this particular program is we're building on the exceptional properties we've seen with AUTO1, and we're adding a highly potent CD22 CAR to the product that actually allows us to minimize the opportunity for escape for the leukemic cells. So this trial is ongoing, and we expect to have data over the upcoming 12 months, with first data planned for the end of this year. The initial experience with obe-cel in non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is actually in a small cohort with follicular and mantle cell lymphoma. Overall, patients had all been able to be manufactured for. In fact, all the patients had a very good safety profile with very limited cytokine release syndrome, no high-grade CRS, as well as actually none of the patients experienced any form of neurotoxicity. When we look at the durability of effect, this is a cut as of the middle of this year and presented at EHA. We obviously do see that all patients treated achieved a metabolic complete remission. We had one patient that actually unfortunately died of COVID in complete remission, and we had one patient that had a CD19 positive relapse in the skin. So overall, we believe that the data in non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is very encouraging. Obviously, more data is being generated. We have a very attractive safety profile, and we obviously are exploring additional cohorts, including patients with CLL as well as patients with DLBCL. The carousel study, as indicated, is in primary CNS lymphoma, and the pediatric experience we just talked about before. So the next steps, when we look forward, obviously there is quite a significant amount of activity ongoing beyond obe-cel and AUTO1/22. And there are several programs that explore different indications, from T-cell lymphoma to neuroblastoma, into an additional range of indications as well. There's several of the studies actually have started or are about to start together with our academic collaborators, and will generate data, clinical data, over the upcoming 12 to 24 months. So with that, I'd like to sum up. Obviously, we believe we're well poised for value inflection here. Our lead program is one of the very few CAR-T programs in pivotal stage. It has a very attractive clinical program shown in the earlier clinical trial that we conducted. And we believe that we're going to have, obviously, data as we go through the course of next year, primary endpoint data towards the middle of the year, and then full data by the end of next year. We're generating additional data in adjacent indications for future investment opportunities, and we're obviously pushing additional programs forward in clinical exploration as products to be taken into full development behind obe-cel and AUTO1/22. The cash balance middle of the year was $216 million, and we have a cash runway into the first half of 2023. With that, I would like to thank you all for listening, for taking the time, and wish you all a great conference. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye-bye.